Hi guys, thanks for tuning in today. I'm going to be talking about a very interesting topic which most of you, if not all of you, have had some direct connection to, and that's bullying. Now, most of you are aware that this has become quite an epidemic. It's happening pretty much everywhere at the moment, and we're almost reading about it or watching something about it every day, or almost every day, at least every week. There is something about bullying going on. Whether it's school bullying, corporate bullying, cyber bullying, it doesn't really make a difference, it's there. And it needs to be addressed because the current model and the current approach to bullying is not necessarily working, which is the reason why it's an epidemic. It's out of control. So I put together this video to help you understand a little bit more about the dynamic so we can get more control over the situation, understand the dynamic, appreciate it for what it is, be grateful for what it is, and transform it. So I'm going to look at each side individually because they represent two parts of a whole, really, at the end of the day. And the reason why I say that is because in the universe, or in life, there are always two sides to everything. Always. In the body, you've got right and left. Right eye, left eye. In the cells of your body, you've got positives and negatives. Two charges balancing each other out so that cell can receive nutrition and send out waste. Pretty much at the same time. We've got a range of different polar opposites in the world. We've got the North Pole, the South Pole, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. When it's daytime in one hemisphere, it's nighttime in the other. And they're happening and they're coexisting with each other constantly, all the time. Making the world turn around, making the world grow, making the world move, making things happen. And they need to happen together in order for growth to occur. And in the bullying and victim dynamic, and I know I'm going to be using a little bit of labeling here, but in the bully and victim dynamic, it's basically the same thing. They're two polar opposites. There is an oppressor, an aggressor, and someone who is perceived as a victim, someone who is weak, disempowered. It's the opposite energy. And they usually coexist at the same time, in the same space, working against one another, or with one another, depending on how you want to look at it, to create growth on both sides. Now, before I continue, it's very important to also know one thing. Every single human being on the planet, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you believe consciously, but every single one of you and every one of us has a distinct and unique set of values that we govern our lives by. Most of the time, or a lot of the time, we tend to be unconscious to what those values are. Occasionally we get insights into what those values might be, and if some of you have done any self-development or personal development, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Every single person has an intrinsic set of values that they're governed by. The bully has that value system as much as the victim has that value system. Both value system on both sides are not being met for different reasons. So let's look at the bully, for example. The bully, who we perceive to be the aggressor, the challenger, the perpetrator, the abuser, the mean, cruel, unkind, challenged individual who has various different problems and issues and all these labels that we attach to them, they have a specific and unique set of values that are not being acknowledged at all. Then we have the victim who is the receiver or the recipient of all this challenge and cruelty and whatever you want to call it. This person also has a unique set of values, and this person's values are also not being met by any stretch of the imagination. And I'll explain why. So we'll start with the victim because that's what most people want to do, is protect that person, so we'll focus on them first, and then we'll get onto the bully and help you understand what's going on over there. So the person who's victimized is usually a person who has some sort of weakness which is perceived by the outside world as a weakness. Whether it's some sort of illness, whether it's something on their body, whether it's their weight, whether it's the way they speak, whether it's their sexual preference, whether it's their race, whether it's their religion, it doesn't really make a difference. There is something about them that people around them will perceive as weak. Usually, the family dynamic, if it's a family-based situation with a child, the family will also perceive that thing as a weakness. So if a child is overweight, the parents will perceive that child as slightly disempowered or slightly weak, or has an issue that they're going to have to deal with their whole lives. And so what they naturally tend to do is to want to protect their child. They naturally want to nurture that child and embrace that child and stop it from getting hurt and all that kind of stuff. Now generally when you've got that kind of situation happening at home, what you're going to do to a child without you even realizing it, even though you're doing it because you love that person, is you're going to disempower that person, because they're going to land up relying and depending on you for their own survival. Which means when it comes time to them to stand up for themselves and defend themselves against challenges in life, they're going to crumble under the pressure and they're not going to know what to do. And they're just going to get beaten down. So that's the victim side of it. The bully side of it is the complete opposite to that. So the bully side of it is someone who is full of energy, highly active, probably very different again on some level, probably also stands out in some way or another, yet their family dynamic tends to be slightly different. Their family dynamic tends to be a dynamic where that child and that child's values is not nurtured enough. So you've got two extremes. You've got the victim who's over-nurtured and you've got the bully who's under-nurtured. So that bully is not going to get enough nurturing. They're not going to get enough care. They're not going to get enough love or support or anything like that. In some way or another, the family dynamic is going to look at this person and go, well, this person's a massive problem and we don't want to deal with it. That's the difference. Whereas in the victim situation, the family dynamic looks at the person and goes, this person's got a problem, we need to help them. We need to support them, we need to protect them. So the bully doesn't get support or protection. Basically what they get is condemnation. They're condemned by the family dynamic and then again by the world as that starts to spread outside the family dynamic. So you've got one side that's not appreciated and valued, and one side that's appreciated too much and valued too much in another way. Not in a way that's in line with that person's values, that true value system, but in terms of what the family dynamic wants for that person or doesn't want for that person. So when you've got a dynamic like this at school, for example, and you've got a bully and a victim, and the bully is perpetrating and aggressing and abusing and being cruel to this victim, there are a couple of things going on. Firstly, when someone comes at you with a challenge in life, and let's take it away from bullying for a second, if someone comes to you with a challenge in life and says, this is a problem and I want you to solve it, and you've never solved that kind of problem before, and it's putting you into a situation where you have to figure out a solution, is that person there to hurt you, or is that person there to help you grow? If you think about it from a work perspective and you've got work assignments or work tasks and your boss comes and gives you all this work to do, which is going to help you grow in your particular role, it's going to potentially make you more money or commission or whatever you want to call it, are you going to be thankful for the boss when you get that commission, or are you going to get annoyed with the boss that you got the commission as a consequence of all that challenge? Bullies provide that challenge in a different form, in a different way, that we get highly emotional and irrational about because we don't understand it. But in essence, what bullies are doing is helping people grow. Because you've got a victim, like I said before, who is very protected, who is over-nurtured, who lands up becoming quite juvenile, dependent and reliant on others. And you've got a bully who tends to be precociously independent, who tends to be very, very confident and assertive in who they are in one way. And what they're doing is pushing that person to figure out or find out the solution to their own disempowerment, the solution to their own weakness, the solution to their own challenges, if you will. That's really what that bully is designed for. The victim, on the other hand, in terms of the bully, serves a different purpose. So the bully is someone, as I said before, who's not getting enough nurturing, who's not getting enough attention, who's not getting their values met enough. So what the victim does, the victim's role in a bully's life is to help that bully or that person get attention, have control, assert dominance, have authority, be some sort of leader in some way or another. Now, it may be not necessarily in the kindest way that it's happening, that this person is behaving as a leader or as a dominant power or force. Yes, it can be perceived as negative from one angle, but there are certainly benefits to this person who is doing the bullying or the aggressing. They are getting the opportunity to get their values met on some level. These two parts make up a whole. They are not mutually exclusive, they are not separate, they do not need to be condemned or punished or protected and supported. They need to be understood. Because if you don't understand a bully or a victim and what's really going on in terms of their own personal value system and their personal power and what's really happening for them, it will continually be the epidemic that it is, and it will never ever be transformed to what we would love it to be. People respecting each other, loving each other, and seeing each other for who they are. Whether it's good or bad, positive or negative, makes no difference. We are who we are because we have a value system that we love to fulfill. And the reason why we can't do that, whether it's the bully or the victim, is because our values aren't recognized enough by the people who care about us the most. And although they're doing whatever they can to care about us and protect us and support us and push us and whatever they're doing, they're not really giving us the time of day to figure it out for ourselves and to be empowered and valued in who we are. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of an insight into the bullying dynamic. There's a lot more to this seemingly complicated situation that I could go into, but I can't do that in such a short amount of time. So for those of you who are interested to know more, who are going through this in your own lives, whether it be in a corporate environment, whether it be at school, whether it be in your own homes, whether it be with your close friends, it doesn't really matter where it is. If you're interested to know how to transform it, if you want to know, and you want to become empowered, or you want to be recognized for who you are, whatever the case is, if you want that and you really want to know how, all I would recommend is to contact me. At the end of this video you'll see my details. You've got my email address and my telephone number. Give me a call, send me an email, and I'd be happy to do some work with you to help you break through this. Whether you're the person who's bullying, so to speak, the person who's not really being nurtured enough, the one who's being labeled as this, that, and the other, disobedient and aggressive and all these kinds of, if you're that type of person because someone's labeled you as that, and you're just fighting for your place in society, and you want to work out how to empower that place of yours and to do it in a way where you don't have to go and get it forcefully from everybody, I can help you do that. If you're the person who's been victimized, so the person who's disempowered and weak and always depending and relying on everybody else for everything, and you want to know how to rely and depend on yourself and empower yourself and go get what you want in your life, so you don't have to be challenged to the point of complete despair, I can help you with that too. So if you're interested, my details at the end of the video like I said, and thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Take care. Bye.